Welcome back to Monday Morning Mojo. I want to start today by saying this. You do not need to follow astrology, the lunar calendar, or Chinese zodiac traditions for this episode to resonate with you. So if it's not your thing, that's okay. Just stay with me anyway. Hang out for a little while because what I want to talk to you about today has nothing to do with predicting the future, but it is about making meaning of where you've been and deciding how you move forward from here. So, yes, I am going to refer to the Chinese zodiac traditions around the lunar calendar, and I am going to talk a little bit about the fact that we have just transitioned out of the year of the snake and into the year of the fire horse. And when I really understood and started to look at and research the symbolism of these 2 years side by side, I actually saw a lot of things that were true for me in my own life right now. I saw where it resonated with what I felt I went through in 2025, and especially, maybe more importantly, what I left in 2025. And I also got really excited when I saw what the year of the fire horse represents, because I feel like that's exactly what I'm manifesting. And so I thought, well, I think this could be a great conversation for us to have because I think it does explain a lot of what many of us might be living through. And so if last year felt quieter in some ways, but heavier in other ways, maybe more reflective than what you expected, maybe if you felt like you were really shedding or transitioning from one thing to another, you saw some things maybe even end or evolve. Maybe for a moment you even thought you were stuck. I'm going to tell you, you weren't stuck, but you were preparing. And I think that this year should already feel different for you because you want to make the decision that it should feel different. And I think that if this year already feels like there's this new energy, there's this new outlook, then maybe that's the fire already under you, a feeling that is pulling you towards action. And that's really what I think the year of the fire horse can represent for you. And I feel that sometimes there's a restlessness that we have to be okay with because that restlessness can actually pull you towards something greater. I've never looked at my restlessness as anything but positive, and it's even shown up on some assessments where it has, described me as having this restless spirit. And I think for me, I've always harnessed that and channeled it as a way for me to be creative, for me to never accept the status quo, for me to always invite change because I know change brings growth. And so it's kept me in a place where I create momentum. And so right now, I'm going to ask you to think about that. Where have you created momentum? Where could you create more momentum? And more importantly, how could you start to trust that your momentum is going to pull you towards something really amazing? And that's what I want to talk about today. So let's just have some fun with this. So let's talk about what the year of the snake might have asked of us. Because the year of the snake was not a flashy, big year, but it was a year of transition, I think. I think that the year of the snake in 2025 really taught us a lot. And I think that it moved us at a slow pace, though, at the same time. And I don't know if that's true of you, but I feel like I moved through a lot of phases of growth in both my career, my professional life, and my personal life. And there were moments where I felt like I wasn't going to get to the other side, even though I know I always do. I think the snake, right, when you think about the way a snake moves, it moves slowly. And not because it's behind, but because it's just how it's wired. It's just requires that space for it to kind of move through slowly. But what I know to be true now, looking back on last year, I was shedding. I was shedding what no longer fit me. I was shedding some of the beliefs I held on to. I definitely shed, for me personally, the need to please everyone all the time. And that doesn't mean that I'm not here to support people and help people because that's very important to me. That's a big part of my mission. My mission is to really help other people connect with their own purpose. I want to help people find clarity. I want to help people connect with more of their purpose and their passion so that they can live bigger lives. I want to help people cut through the noise. I want to help people really achieve their goals by working smarter rather than harder. It's not that I don't want to please people, but I want to do it in a way that's empowering for them and for me, not to give myself away in the process. So that was a big part of me personally in my journey of what I was sort of shedding last year. I was shedding the people pleasing. I was shedding the need to give up so much of myself in the name of being successful. I really felt like that was important for me to give up. And so I was also focused as I was shedding what no longer fit. I think I was making room, right? I was creating room for the things I needed to welcome in. And so I know last year was a lot about listening to that inner voice. It got me in alignment again with my own intuition. And so that I could start to pay more attention and notice where maybe I was living a little on autopilot instead of in truth. I think for me, it was a lot about the significance I wanted to feel and how I wanted to create the goals in my path in a way that was meaningful for me. And I wonder, if that's not true for a lot of you out there, especially those of you who are in leadership and who are entrepreneurs or CEOs. I think that it's something that we all have to really become mindful of, is to continue to evolve and to continue to make our personal growth just as important as any other professional or career decision or goal that we set. Here's why. Because we're very good at doing, right? Those of you listening, I'm sure you're a lot like me, where you're just really good at always doing something. Action is what changes things, and we're good at pushing through discomfort. We're good at taking on more responsibilities. We're leaders and we know people need us, and we're very good at making things work, even when something feels off inside of us. And even when we might feel out of alignment with our own values or just feeling a little off, we just keep pushing through. But see, the snake doesn't let you bypass the truth, because what the snake does is it reveals, and what I think last year revealed for me, is relationships that might have been draining me instead of supporting me. And it's okay. I just want to say that quick. It's okay to realize that some relationships are going to change and evolve. And so I got clearer about some of those boundaries. And I think it also revealed to me certain business models that maybe were no longer working for me and how I might have to make some shifts. And it revealed how I needed to think differently too, because sometimes you realize the way you did something for the longest time that got you results is suddenly not as effective as it once was. And it doesn't mean that you've lost your spark. It just means that the way you do it has to change. And so, listen, the way we do business now in 2026 looks very different than the way we did business in 2016. And so we have to be open to that. And so we have to learn some new things and maybe take in some new strategies or business models that will help us accomplish what we want to do now in this market, in this business at this moment. And so the roles that you had may feel different too. And I think it's okay to admit that too, that sometimes we outgrow certain roles, certain leadership roles that we have will change with us too as time goes on. And maybe it needed to change a long time ago. Maybe we're just getting caught up with that. So here's the important thing. What I'm really talking about is that I think this last year was a year for change. It just happened very slowly and methodically, just like shedding the skin would on a snake. And it was a year for understanding why change was necessary. And I'm curious how many of you are relating to this. Again, my experience, but I feel like from a lot of the conversations I've been having with clients and members of my team and people that I know, we all sort of agree and felt like last year was a really transformational year. And it's good because that brings us to a new level of maturity in our leadership. I think growth, when it happens quietly, can be very sustainable. And I think that letting go is healthy, it's not dramatic, and it's honest. And so, for a lot of us, especially for women out there, I think for women in leadership, women CEOs, it's okay for us to admit this. And it's honesty that is just liberating, right? And so here's what I see a lot of leaders going through right now. I think they're seeking clarity. I think that a lot of leaders are being honest about what works and what doesn't work. And they're willing to make the pivot, make the shift, and find the things that will work better for them. And I think that a lot of leaders around me, myself included, are getting really clear and honest about what we want more of. What we want more of in our business, what we want more of in our personal life, what we want to feel more of. And that's an amazing thing. Now, if you haven't fully moved on a lot of these things yet, that's okay. That's another reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because you just probably need to create a little space for clarity to catch up with action. And for you to not feel frustrated about it, but for you to examine maybe some of the things I just shared and how it might relate to you or not, and where you are at this moment. That's the greatest gift we can give ourselves, is awareness around where we are in this moment, so that the clarity can inspire action, so that the clarity can diffuse any frustration that you're feeling and really help you move forward. Because the key, my friends, is the action, right? Because clarity without movement can feel a little heavy, right? When you have all this awareness, you start to recognize what's working, what's not working, how you've changed and evolved. Just sitting in all of the awareness alone can weigh on you a little bit, because if you stay sedentary for too long, all those new thoughts could turn into self-doubt. You could start second guessing yourself again. You could just procrastinate and start waiting. And we don't want that. We want the clarity to inspire action. So here's the truth of what I want you to hear. Clarity is the beginning. It's never the finish line. It's honestly the invitation. Confidence doesn't come from just thinking or thinking longer. It only comes from moving with intention. And that has been another part of my growth in the last year. I kind of knew that, especially as a coach, I understood that. But sometimes what we teach is not always what we follow. I'll be honest about that. Sometimes I need my coaches to show me the way, even though I might be very good at helping you with that. I realized that your confidence comes in the doing. I want you to picture you climb up the ladder of the diving board, right? High above the pool. And you're going to take that dive, and standing there longer and longer is not building your confidence. It only makes you feel more fearful, and you start having the doubts, and you start second guessing whether this was a good idea in the first place. And are you going to make that dive? And is it going to be perfect? And all the things, right? And sometimes you just have to jump. And every time you jump and every time you land in that pool, your confidence builds more and more. So that may be, of all the things we're going to talk about on this week's episode, that might be the one you really needed to hear, is that your confidence doesn't come from standing there and thinking about it. Your confidence comes from moving forward with intention. And that's what brings me now to talk about the year of the fire horse. And I personally am excited because I love symbolism. I find that there's a lot of meaning in that. And I do, not to get too woo-woo, I am open to looking at the symbolism of numbers and the spiritual meanings of things. And I look for those messages in the Bible and everything around me. And so I'm open to how other cultures interpret those things. And I love horses, and I love everything that the horse represents, from its beauty, its speed, its strength. I think horses are very intelligent. So I got excited when I heard it was the year of the horse, but then when I realized it was not just the year of the horse, it's the year of the fire horse. And there is nothing subtle about that, right? The fire horse is not going to come in quiet. It is not going to come in a meek way. It is bold. It is fast, it's instinctive, it's forward moving. And where the snake might have been moving slower, the year of the fire horse is coming in big. And where the snake might have had us looking inward, the fire horse says, go, it's go time. So I believe this is a year of courage over comfort. This is a year for momentum. This is a year for you to make your moves and keep going forward towards the things you say you want and abandon any sort of idea that it has to be perfect. I think this is the year that I want to give you permission to just do it, to try it, put yourself out there, and for you to not worry about the perfection. It is not about perfection, it is about progress. And I think this is also a year for us to trust our own instincts, for you to connect with your own inner GPS. I wish that for all of you, that you can really develop that inner voice and know that you have the ability to trust your instinct over any familiarity. And I know that that could be challenging for some of us, where others of us, we lead from our instinct. I know I do usually, but for you, this could be a challenge. But I want you to just continue to tune inward and ask yourself what you need at any given moment. And I think you might find the answers. And in doing so, I think you're going to choose some freedom. I think you're going to have freedom this year to really find your voice. My hope is that you create bigger goals and vision for your life, that you step fully into your leadership, that you embrace freedom of time, that, this is the year that you stop asking permission. Because the fire horse is certainly not asking for permission. That beautiful creature is running. And it is not waiting for conditions to be perfect. It will run in the storm. It will run in the snow. It will run when it's hot. It is not here to over-explain itself because it has confidence. The fire horse is moving because it knows in that inner spirit, it knows. And so I'm speaking to a lot of my women friends, my women leaders. This is powerful. This is exactly what you need to hear right now. And I know someone's listening saying the same thing. Thank you. This is what I needed to hear right now, because this is the year you make the decisions you've been circling around for so long. All those things that you say you're going to do, this has to be the year you make a decision. Say it out loud. Say the thing that you've been carrying around quietly. Step more into visibility. Tell yourself it's okay. Don't play it safe. Don't play it small, and don't play it safe. Especially if you think playing it small is what's expected of you to help someone else feel bigger in their space. No. I believe that when we step into the full expression of ourselves, when we step into our true power, and no one has what you have. You don't have what I have, and I don't have what you have, because we are divinely made and uniquely gifted. And it's time that we embrace that and use it to make the world around us a little bit better. And so you can't do that if you're playing small, and you can't do that if you're hiding somewhere. So you have to get more visible. This is the year that you step out in a big way. I want you to lead with conviction. I want you to be clear about what you want. Stop asking everybody what they think and just go for what you want. You want to grow your business? Let's figure it out. You want to write a book? You want to start a podcast? You want to start a business? You want to end a business? You want to do the things that you've been holding on to? Let's make it happen. So here's a line I want you to sit with. The fire horse is here. Today starts the lunar year, and it's coming in hot, it's coming in fast, and it's not going to ask you if you're ready. It might ask if you're willing, but it's not going to ask if you're ready, because you will develop what you need to know and what you need to do in the process. So it is not about getting ready. It's about whether you are willing to trust yourself, willing to act on what you already know, willing to move. This is the year to make the moves, even if the path is not clear. What if the path could unfold for you as you go? What if you could trust yourself enough to know that you have what it takes, and that whatever you need will start to come into play, come into vision, because you're going to start first with you and knowing what you have available to you already. So this is the year for you to go. I know I got a little fired up, right? Because it's the year of the fire horse. And look, I want to leave you with a couple of questions so you can do your journaling and thinking about it. And of course, we'll put this in the show notes too. But I just feel so empowered and so excited about what I want to connect in terms of the message for what this year can bring. So I'm going to give you a couple questions that I hope will unpack this for you, because it's not about what I'm going to take from this. It's about what you will take from this. So here's the first question I want you to work on. What truth did last year reveal to you? Right? I shared a couple things about what I learned from last year, and I even did that in a previous episode that we'll connect it in the show notes if you want to hear what last year taught me. But what is it that you feel last year really showed you that you have to act on? Did it show you some truth about your business? Did it show you some truth about your next level? Did it show you a truth about a friendship or a relationship? Did it show you the truth about who you are and that it's time to act on that? What has last year shown you? What is the truth that you need to act on? That's the first question. The second question is, how am I staying comfortable? Where am I choosing that familiar feeling over freedom right now? Because your comfort zone, it's warm and fuzzy, but it's not going to allow you to grow. And so we have to get real about this. If anything I've said to you so far today has connected, landed, or just created a little spark in you, then this question is really important, because it's time to step out. So where are you choosing to stay a little familiar, a little comfortable, instead of the freedom that could be coming for you? And the third question is, what's next in this season? What would be, based on everything we talked about, your next move that aligns with all of this, right? Not the hustle, not the crazy manic kind of response, but intentional, strategic action. What's your next move? And I want you to choose that one courageous move to begin making now in the next 30 days. Not 10 moves, just one. All right, because I get it. You know, we are entrepreneurs. We're cut from a different cloth. We are very creative and visionaries. And I know I have no shortage of ideas, but I have to get honest about where I need to start and where I need to end. And so sometimes we have to get clear and say that if we want to create really big results, our focus has to be a little bit more narrow. And so I just want you to choose one courageous move. What's the first domino that maybe has to fall? That one thing that you start with creates a trajectory for you, a path that allows you to start to have more of the things you want this year. Because that's really what momentum is, right? The one domino, the little domino in the beginning can knock down 1,000 dominoes in the row because it creates momentum. And so that's what I want you to think about, is what is the one move that will create momentum for you? And not because you're doing more, but because you're doing the right thing. Because you're doing the right thing. I've heard some people say, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait for 2025 to be over. You know, it was really a tough year. And maybe that's true to a degree, but here's what I always believe. Everything does happen for a reason. And I think for me personally, I believe that there's a divine order to everything. And so when I look back on some of my toughest moments, when I look back on some of my most challenging years or seasons of my life, as much as it was hard to go through and I probably hated every moment of it, looking back, I'm so grateful, because it's through the challenges and the adversity that we learn so much about ourselves. It's usually preparing us for something bigger. I know anytime I've looked back and I realize that those seasons were just preparation for something bigger. And that's what I'm excited about. So if 2025 was challenging for you, then okay, good. Celebrate the fact that you're going to revisit what you learned last year, bring it with you into 2026, leave behind the things that don't serve you, but bring with you the lessons and the new perspectives and the awakening that you had from last year. Bring that into 2026 so that you continue to move forward, because whatever happened last year was not for nothing. And whatever happened last year was not an accident. It was preparing you for something bigger. And so the shedding is done, my friends, and now we run. The shedding is done, and now we run. So I want you to think about how you're going to take on this new year with speed, with boldness, with a fire, and go after the things you want with strategy, significance, and really creating that momentum for you. So thank you for spending some time with me today. This was a good one. And if you're fired up, if you're as fired up as I am, figure out something you're going to do today to take action. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it. You know, right now, I'm sure you could think of at least 2 to 3 people who need to hear this message. So right now, before the day goes on, I want you to stop and send this podcast episode to one of your friends and tell them that they need to listen to it. And maybe you guys can then become accountability partners for what you want to accomplish in this year of the Fire Horse. And don't forget to loop me in too. I would love to hear how anything we talk about here is resonating with you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. So you can, DM me. You can find me through my website, coachannagibbs.com. If you're ever curious about what it would be like to work with me, then I want you to definitely reach out and let's have that conversation, because I would love to be a part of helping you take advantage of this year and harness this energy that I believe is here for all of us. And so it would be an honor to talk to you and learn a little bit more about your goals and maybe how coaching could help you accomplish whatever that is. So definitely reach out to me. And let's go get it. Let's just go get it, because this is your year. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.